Happy Friday. Hopefully you guys had a great day yesterday. Afternoon activities were fun. I had a little glimpse into last night. I was coming down the elevator this morning to come here. And this woman that I didn't know, she got on the elevator halfway down and she, right away, I had my name tag on and she's like, "Who are you guys?" Well, we're Greystone, we're a development management company. And she's like, "Oh, so," and then I said, "Well, and we have clients." And she's like, "Oh, now I know why it was so loud last night in the bar." So it's not Greystone, it's all of you all having a great time, for sure. And we've got a great, I would just want to acknowledge yesterday morning as well. With all the sessions and the great content, everybody did a great job, and so I want to just give a round of applause. We've got another great day on tap for you, a morning on tap, with hopefully some insightful comments and discussion, and we're ready to get kicked off here this morning. I love sports, and I'm always watching sports, and so I have to give out a shout to my Texas Aggies who are in the College World Series, starting today, through the weekend. Hopefully we got a winner. We'll have a new winner either way, Tennessee or A&M, which is great. And when I watch sports, you always have to watch commercials, which are they're hard sometimes. But if you see this Workday commercial that is out there, and it's all these rock stars that are like, "Oh, you're a rock star," and they're making fun of people in business that are still using that phrase. So they bring in Ozzy Osbourne, Pat Benatar. Speaking of Pat, where's Pat Gleason? Hey, it's Pat's birthday today. I don't know. Oh, Jeff on Sunday. Way to go, Jeff. Happy birthday early. Good. I don't know who's better, Pat Gleason or Pat Benatar, but they got these rock stars up there, and the whole theme of it is achieve rock star status, unlock your inner rock star. They are the real Workday is. I don't own stock in them or anything, but the real rock stars of business delivering epic results. And I'm telling you all, we've got the rock stars of senior living up here today. Doug and Diane and Sarkis, and we're excited to talk about organizations executing on growth. And Sarkis is definitely helping organizations like these execute on growth. But we want to start out with just some introductions, because I won't do each of you justice. We'd just love for each of you run down. Actually, we're going to start with Diane first. Who you are, your role in the organization. Tell us more about your organization. And then, before you transition, I want to know how you got started in senior living. And go.
All right. Well, flip to my first little picture, our community. So, as Stuart said, I'm Diane, but thanks for the oversell. What is it? Don't oversell and underdeliver. You're supposed to undersell and overdeliver. Stuart,
Sorry.
Remember that next time. I have been in senior living for 31 years. Holy cow. I am currently at Mennonite Village in Oregon, and I'll tell you a little bit about that in a second. I, like Stuart and many other fabulous people, came up through the CPA and finance route into my role, and frankly, I personally can't imagine anything any different. I was at Mary's Woods for 28 years and never thought I would do anything else, and I am loving this change, so don't be afraid of change. Working at Mennonite Village has been so much fun. I've been there a little over 2 years. Mennonite Village is one of the largest continuing care retirement communities in Oregon. We're located in the grass seed capital of the world. Not the other kind of grass, which someone else asked about. There's probably a lot of that going on too. We're about 20 miles from Oregon State University and about an hour and a half south of Portland, Oregon. And yes, I commute every day. It takes me about an hour and 5 minutes, and I listen to Audible, and I'm the happiest person on I-5. And my commute bothers other people more than it bothers me, frankly. Our community is 77 years old, actually in July. We were founded by a Mennonite woman in the 40s who wanted to take care of the aging Mennonites. And we also have one of those special names, Mennonite Home for the Aged. Today we have about 550 residents. We have all levels of care, including skilled nursing, which I'm about ready to make Medicare a 4-letter word. We have 275 acres of land, so that is not a problem for us, and we're about to acquire another 8 acres through a distribution from a related party, which is just right across the street from us, which will give us some other interesting opportunities. The slide shows the mix of what we have today, and we'll tell you a little bit more in a minute after introductions about what we're looking at doing and the opportunities we have. We have a gorgeous campus. So how did I get into senior living? By accident. I was working in public accounting. I wanted to get out of it. I got recruited and hired by a nun, Sisters of the Holy Names of Jesus and Mary, to work at their convent and help them plan the future. Never in a million years would I have said I'd be still sitting here in this field today. I helped the Sisters of the Holy Names and was integral in the startup and completion of the Mary's Woods at Merrillhurst campus in Lake Oswego, Oregon. And as I've already shared, had no idea I might have a 2.0 in me. So that's how I got into it, by accident.
Awesome. Thank you, Diane.
Doug, thank you.
Hear your words.
I'm Doug Smith. I'm with HutsonWood, and a little bit about our organization. We started in 1988, and it was actually when Dr. Bruce Hudson and a fellow named Lewis Wood, that were friends and business cohorts, came together to buy 4 communities, developmentally disabled communities that we still have out of bankruptcy. So that's really sort of how the organization started. It started as a nonprofit. They actually brought in an outside management company to manage those 4, and then over time just grew. So grew mainly through healthcare, nursing homes, assisted living, which was the primary growth. And then probably more recently in the last 10 years or so, 14 years or so really, have grown in the affordable housing side. So no real CCRCs to say. We did at one point have a rental independent living community, but a lot of those, as we really started to look at where we were located, our board, myself sort of wanted to try to bring our management back in-house. To oversee our communities. The manager we were working with, they wanted to own and operate their own, so just different philosophies. So we disposed of some that were out of our region, re-centralized, and so sort of where we are today. You see the pictures of a couple of our community. The developmentally disabled are in Illinois, doing great. And just, a real mission. Something that we really love doing. I started in this industry in 2007, helping a Nashville-based CCRC create an at-home program. And from that, having development experience and construction experience early in my career, they were looking to build a CCRC in Franklin, Tennessee, just south. And so they said, hey, you've got construction experience, development experience, you're an accountant, come be CFO, help us start this. So I did, and September 19, 2008, we were doing our big announcement of this community. It was in a partnership with the Country Music Association. Martina McBride's on the stage doing the announcement. Shortly thereafter, somebody comes over and steps in my ear, says, do you know Lehman Brothers just declared bankruptcy? I was like, oh great, here we go. So we're starting a community. Obviously that community never happened. But then I sort of got thrown into senior finance through that and have enjoyed it since. In 2011, I was asked to be a board member at HutsonWood, which I did and have enjoyed. In 2014, they're like, we need someone in our succession plan to come and lead the organization. I was the one that was chosen. So it's been a fun ride and lots of exciting things that we're going to keep talking about here in a minute.
Excellent. Sarkis.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Sarkis Garabedian. I'm a managing director in Ziegler's senior living finance practice. I've been in the business for 20 years. You saw the great Rain initiative, Mary Munoz, yesterday morning. I've had the pleasure of working with her since 2013. That brought me to Ziegler. I've been in the business for 20 years. I really got started in senior living because I knew I wanted to be I always had a financial mind. Wanted to be an investment banker pretty early in life, but I wanted to do it in a way that made a difference and really impact community. And so that kind of led me on a journey to first working with hospitals and senior living, and then when I joined Ziegler in 2013, has been focusing exclusively on senior living because what are we doing? We're building community at the end of the day. I'll say too, I've had the pleasure of working with Diane on several projects at Mary's Woods and currently one in planning, and with Stuart really up and down the West Coast. So I'm based in Seattle, part of our West Coast team, and so you may have met, in addition to Mary, Darren Bell also is a partner with me in Seattle as well.
Awesome, thanks Sarkis. And Ziegler's also helping HutsonWood and its growth initiatives. And so the theme of this is we've just got a number of questions that we're just gonna ask these rock stars up here, and they'll give their answers and we'll see where we go. So here's the first one, each of you, and this would be, and Sarkis is helping, as is Greystone, them execute on these growth initiatives, but you're in the middle of it. And so we'd love to have you share more specifically what each of you are accomplishing, but most importantly, why. Why are you there? And I forget who's next. Diane? Bingo. Yeah, I got you.
So when I arrived at Mennonite Village as an interim, again, never intending to stay, I will try that part. After 9 months, I thought, well, I know this show. I might as well just throw my hat in the ring for the job. So I've been permanent for a little over a year, but with them over 2. One of the first things that attracted me to even the interim gig is a project. And those of you who know me know I love a project. And the very early part of my career, I also worked in construction. So I can talk a pretty good game on the construction side of the house and love the project. So what we did first is I got to know everyone. We were in the middle of some planning. It wasn't really going anywhere. So I had the pleasure of, or difficult decision of dismissing the architect that the community had been working with for decades. At that time, we hired a new architect, SFCS, out of Roanoke, Virginia, and they helped us put a master plan together, and they will hate me for airing this publicly, between about January, and we showed it to the board in May. And it's awesome. So we have now a very long-range, full campus master plan. You can see from the picture, and obviously understand from 275 acres, we have a lot of land. What we're contemplating right now is some additional assisted or independent living, probably more cottages and duplexes, which you can see on the right-hand side of this, behind me, you can see it. Where the pink little circle is, towards the field there, we'll add more duplexes or cottages. We also have the opportunity to add some apartments, which would be a newer product for us. And we're looking at some reconfiguration, relocation, scope changes, etc. with our healthcare area. A big part of this is to serve our existing residents and kind of upgrade things. Again, most of our newest building opened in 2019, and unfortunately it's a 3-story skilled nursing building. Pardon me, I've already shared my opinion on that. Our AL, which is that Quail Run, is 30 years old, and our memory care is also just under 30 years old. The most important thing for us is to grow our campus and be around for another 77 years. We want to serve more of the community in the Albany and surrounding area, and also continue to serve the residents we have today. There's some good things we're doing with both Greystone and with Ziegler. Things are changing literally as we speak. So even though we have this master plan, when we've actually buckled up with construction costs, entrance fee pricing, monthly service fee pricing, like probably many of you, we've run into some constraints, and our theme is that we are fun, not fancy. If you want to see a middle market, yeah, we are fun. If you want to see a middle market product that is in operation, you just head on down and come visit me. Because I promise you, I believe our monthly service fees are close to the lowest in the country. And yes, our entrance fees are as well. So if you'd also like to find a really cheap place to live as you retire, I know they showed Mark's picture the other day, yesterday, it could have been me. It's a great place to be. But we're really excited about changing what we're doing, looking forward. We want to be nimble and flexible in anything we do, and always be thinking about what could this building be used for in the future. Are we building just for today, which was going to feel like yesterday by the time you open? No, we want to build for tomorrow. So those are kind of some of the key things we're looking at.
Excellent, thanks Diane. We'll dig into some more questions that expand on that here in a minute, but Doug would love for you to share a little bit about what you all are to.
All right, yeah. So several years ago, we decided we wanted to build and had an opportunity to acquire a CON in Spring Hill, Tennessee, which is just about 30 miles south of Nashville, and built a nursing home. And since we were primarily healthcare, built a nursing home and a assisted living, and it had some additional acreage. Over time, you know, we basically, as we looked for other things to do, it was first is, hey, we've got a couple of our communities that have additional land. So we actually engaged Greystone and said, do some market studies on these two markets. What can we do? And the other one really didn't have a good market. Spring Hill obviously had a great market. And, you know, through the board, started talking about what we could do there. And it really sort of started small. We were just going to start on the additional acreage that's right next to it that you see on the screen, where it says Parcel A. Just to the left of that was the additional 7 acres that we had. We're looking at first at sort of a rental model. That was a little bit of what our board's thought was on looking at if we were going to get into independent living. But as the market studies came, as things really came out, it was like, okay, they grew into entrance fees. We're going to start small. And then all of a sudden, a couple of board members were looking, and it's like, well, if home prices are $500,000 and there's a Del Webb community and they're starting to sell for $600,000, why aren't we doing a true entrance fee community? It's like, okay, you know we're going to do it. So we did some focus groups, and it morphed, as you see from here. It morphed from, you know, not just doing on the site next door, but we had the opportunity to acquire 20 acres across the street. So as we went through the planning of that, to look at to look at doing some cottages. So as you see on the screen, the apartment building, which will tie into the existing nursing home. We will do some assisted living in the new building, nicer, more up-to-date, bigger, larger apartments for the assisted living, and then turn the existing assisted living into memory care suites. Then across the street, obviously the need for cottages and all. And what was really just interesting is the site next door was also available. At first we had an option on it, and our board was like, what if somebody buys it, and why don't we just control it? Thinking, wow, I've got it. So 24 acres, and they're like, let's go on and tie it up and let's have it for future growth. So just really excited about this project. Working with Greystone, just did our band's financing last month with Ziegler, have THW on board, doing the architecture work, and actually I had worked with Eric many years ago when we were doing the project I mentioned down in Franklin, and it never came to pass. So excited this one's going to come to pass. And just a couple of renderings early on. I understand, talking last night to Caleb, we've got some more coming next week, so really excited about this opportunity.
Awesome. That's great. Well, I got another question for you all. Appreciate you sharing more in it. It's how do you get to alignment? To be able to take on, these are both significant expansions of the existing communities that you all own and operate, and that alignment many times of all the stakeholders, it starts with the board. And would love to hear kind of how that process went to create alignment with them, and how did you get them to yes? And Doug, would love for you to just keep rolling.
So, years ago, one of the big things in our board meetings, our board meetings always just seemed to be come and do reporting, and that was it. There was no real education. And that became a piece that we really wanted to add. We've got a great board chair who actually had experience also in the CCRC world. So he's been a real partner with me in helping guide a lot of this. But the thing was education. You've got to educate your board. And, had John Spooner come in, had Rich with Ziegler come in, numerous others come in and really help educate our board constantly on what's happening, and not just trying to get them to do a life plan community, but really to say, hey, what's happening in the industry? Because they could sort of see where the nursing homes were going, and census is dropping and COVID hits, and it's just not rebounding, and it's like, is this really what we want to do? Do we want to rely on the government to be giving us our funds? So the education process was the real big piece, and that's just key to everything.
Yeah, and I think building on that, I know you mentioned rental, and then that flip to entrance fee. Well, and part of that was not just education globally about where are the trends in the industry going, but it got down to, all right, specific to that opportunity, you had data, you had information to make informed decisions, and have your board chair say, well, is it right to switch?
Yeah,
and then we could have a meaningful conversation.
And went from there. And got even more information to go back.
Absolutely. And the focus group was a cherry on top, I think, of what we all thought. Right. And it proved out what you believed was the opportunity and affirmed it. That's excellent. Very good. Diane, how about for you all?
Well, I was fortunate as I joined Mennonite Village. Our board already had said yes. However, there was some skepticism about the yes of what the project might look like, and were they going to be able to really pull the trigger. This community has never had any debt at all. We have no debt on our balance sheet. Crazy tunes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I know my legacy is I'm going to leave them with a giant debt. That's nice, right? That'll be my swan song, my retirement speech. Enjoy paying that debt off. No, it's going to be. They also haven't really understood how debt is a tool to make things work, and it's also an engine to not only grow your organization, expand your mission, but also make a big difference in your own financial performance. So for me, some of the key factors coming in again with the board that was on board, ironically, my board chair, his first job was a CNA for a Blue Stem community in Kansas. He is now in an accounting role in a quasi-governmental agency in Oregon working for seniors. So I have a great board chair, and he's like under 40, which I'll just be honest, not to bring up age, but that is a huge win to have a board that is pretty diverse in multiple areas. It's really important to have a strong team. So I wanted to make sure that I had an internal team that was strong and committed and could take this on, but I also needed an external team of people that we chose and put together intentionally to take this forward. So I'm a big believer in have people internally you can really rely on and count on, and then pick your partners wisely, because you need them to tell you sometimes the hard news, the reality, or also encourage you and your board to go forward. So our board has been in alignment. Ironically, the education piece has been a big part of my role as well, trying to keep our board educated on what's going on in our field nationally as well as locally in Oregon. Our market opportunity, which was so proved out by Greystone's work, looking at we just barely need to scrape the surface in our market area, and we'll have enough residents to fill any kind of expansion. So for me, it's just keeping that mentality of managing change, which is difficult for anyone, and keeping people, just reminding them that this allows our mission to expand and for us to serve more seniors in our area with what we believe is our high quality services.
Awesome. Excellent, thank you, Diane. Now we're moving to the next one, just keeping this thing moving. Stakeholder communication is critical, so it's tough. We start with the board, we start with the residents. The residents have a much louder voice these days, and communicating with them is always an important part of these initiatives, especially if it's an expansion of an existing community. And so, how did you all bring residents and staff go along with that in the process? And Diane, we'll go right back to you.
Okay.
Share some
Well, I feel
thoughts.
like whatever you do, it's never enough. I've been lately asking residents who don't think we communicate enough, what does communication look like to them? Because we can't figure out how written, emailed, I feel like standing on your head isn't enough. We have a web page for them on their part of the portal for the master plan, which has an automatic email. They can email any question, any input, any idea. I made them it clear ahead of time there would not be a response, but that all that data would be collected and shared with particularly the design team. This was earlier on. I do short little videos for residents and staff regularly and try to keep them updated on the latest and the greatest. Working with our marketing director, who also kind of is more strategic communication. We're working right now on developing a regular plan for consistent updates and communication, even if it's to say nothing has changed from last whatever, and here's what we're doing today. So for us, it's tricky, probably for all of you. They live, and many of them grew up in the area. They know people at the city, and we can't pull anything past anyone. And I'm not saying we want to, but we'll be held accountable. With staff, trying to keep them involved in listening sessions, conversations, presentations, and the same kind of communication. It's the biggest thing for us.
Great. Thanks, Diane. Doug, how about you guys?
So obviously being healthcare for the residents, in a project like this, I doubt very many will be there when the project opens up. I hate to just be honest. And obviously also being healthcare, being realistic, many of them in our SNF, most are rehab patients that are coming in. So actually, using that as a marketing tool for, for the priority deposit campaign. So not having to really get them to buy in. It's more using them for marketing purposes. For the staff, I mean, it was very easy. Let them know, here's what we're doing. They're very excited. They see it as an opportunity, like, hey, this campus is going to grow. Maybe there's future opportunity for me. So, easy buy-in from the staff.
That's excellent. All right, so we're shaking it up. Many of you all, well, I don't know about many. Really know Phil Donahue? The talk show, the original talk show, like preceded Oprah and all of her greatness. But here we go. Phil Donahue, he'd grab a mic and he'd run out into the audience. And so there are others in this room who are doing exactly what these two, Diane, are doing. And they've actually lived it. And they've lived it a little bit tougher, maybe, than I think you all have had it. But love them to share experiences. And I'm coming back to Kevin Amati, CEO at Okamic. And you're in the middle of an expansion and resident communication. There's one thing that would be good, like, hey, that we went through the process. This was good. And what would that be for everybody? You can't know. You cannot. Sit up. I'm gonna hold it because this is what Phil would do.
Yes.
Oh shoot. Phil, where you go?
Yes, he would. I remember Phil. And so I think just like what we've heard here already this morning, in my 33 years of being in this field, things are changing, and approaches had to have evolved. And so what we learned is we could present, my team and I could present anything, but what was important to our residents were actually listening to the chair of the board do the same presentation about where we're going and how we're going to evolve and where our future development is, and everything was okay. It didn't matter what we had to say, and they would hear it from their own colleagues, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so that worked very, very well.
That's good.
So it was a lot of education, though. It was a year and a half of education before everyone could,
Well, and to get your board chair to actually articulate all of that to the resident, like you had to coach that too.
7 months of communications in 20 different formats. And, you talk about, doing some sort of an update, even if nothing happens. I mean, we're constant. It's almost daily. Because it only takes one person to stir things up and get our own message.
And I feel like Phil always pulled it back to him. We do this.
Yes.
But he didn't have a lot of layers. That was before those existed, I think. But you had a lot of residents that could stir things up. And they love to stir things up.
They're exceptional at it. Yes. But one of the lessons learned too, though, is I think we're seeing a major shift in a lot of our residents that are moving in and currently living in our communities, and they have an incredible amount of experience to share, and they want to have purpose. And so taking advantage of that is something I've had to learn over the last year, and it's worked. They're helping us develop that community now and move forward.
That's great. Thank you, Kevin. All right, I'm coming one more. Do you feel like Phil Donahue? All right, so our other friends at Village on the Isle, I've got Doug Filler and Kathy who are here with us. They're same thing, doing an expansion. They've been through it, but would love, same question, like, is there anything that went really well in the process? And then is there anything that maybe you wish you had done differently, having experienced what you experienced?
Okay, I'd say, going back to what Kevin said, bringing your board and getting them involved, it was a really good thing for us. It shows that they supported everything, that they backed everything, and I think that helped out from our standpoint as well. I would say the number one thing is the timing of the communication. Because we always say, if you don't connect those dots for the residents, they're gonna connect them for you, and it's not gonna be the most accurate information. So it truly is, you know, I mean, when we talk about that, when does that communication start? Because in the beginning, it's just conceptual, so you can't bring them along with the entire conceptual phase of it. But at what point do you bring that in?
Yeah, and it's hard because you wanna have the right information that you and your board both agree, hey, it's now time for everybody to know. And yet they're chomping at the bit and rumors are flying and then you gotta figure out how to deal with it. Yeah, read and react. Great, thank you, Doug. All right, Phil Donahue, hour's over. We got another question. I don't remember what it is. So, Greystone School, in these initiatives that you face today, because you're in the middle of it, so it's not like we've got epic results yet. Those are coming. And then, if there was an obstacle, hey, how did you hop over the hurdle?
So from my perspective, you know, going from, again, healthcare to more of life plan communities, more of a hospitality model, the management team, obviously, that we currently have is a little bit more clinical. So we're shifting more to, or needing to shift more to get the team that has that hospitality feel. And that's one of the big things with our board. They're very supportive. They're like, we have the financial capital for you to build the team, but get the right team. And that's, you know, that's pretty much the marching orders that we have. And which is great, because they're like, if you build the right team, this is successful, you know, the sky's the limit, y'all can grow as much as you want to. So, you know, it's making sure we're getting the right team and still building that part. I mean, obviously you get your external resources in the external team, it's a part of the overall team, but a lot of the internal team, and some pieces we've still got to put in play, one being an HR, sort of a chief people officer that we're looking for. Anybody know anybody, let me know. Worked it. So, you know, getting those right people in place, and that's, you know, from their focus, that's the one thing.
Good. Diane, how about you guys?
Yeah, for us, it's really trying to optimize our current operations to strengthen our current financial position and help be more additive to this future project and this future development. So again, the beauty and the beast of not having any debt is we really also have not charged enough, I'm gonna guess almost ever. And so trying to rebuild that from an operational standpoint, where we're creating a larger an operating margin for the organization and the extra cash flow to cover CapEx on the current campus, as well as the need for increased wages and that pressure which continues for all of us. So for us, it's really, and of course this is kind of work I really like, but it's really trying to streamline and really optimize what we're doing today. So when we go to our residents with probably a larger than normal rate increase for the next few years, they need to understand that we've done everything we can to really make sure that the fat, for lack of a better word, has been trimmed out of our current operations, and that what we're asking them is paying for these things. For us, our staff costs about 70 cents of every dollar. So that's the key driver, and I don't think we've capitalized on that in the past. So that's been a message I've had pretty consistently the last 2 years. So our problem is probably more like getting ready, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Yep, making sure that the engine's running on all cylinders. Awesome. So next question, and Sarkis, you're like wondering, how long am I going to sit up here without saying anything? My goodness. But we
jacket for you.
we want to know the capital markets view, and you know,
Sure.
hey, these projects seem to be, because costs keep going up, larger and larger. And what are you all seeing? What is capital markets view on growth? And then what are some of the headaches and risk factors that you're seeing out of them, their peers, and across the industry as you help them execute?
Well, thank you, Phil. So Mark Andrews yesterday in his opening, he kept mentioning, you know, that they're starting to see increased confidence, amongst their client base in that forward pipeline. And, I'm always amazed when I see all these sentiment indicators and various polls out there about how negative folks are right now. And it is election year, so I think it definitely plays a role in all of that. But there's no doubt in the capital markets, we are in a bull market, folks. So it is time to have confidence. Okay, we are in a bull market, and that's across asset classes. The stock market's at all-time highs. I think we've set over 20 all-time high closing highs in the first half of this year. It's not even the third quarter yet. Bonds are rallying. And really the reason why that's happening is that economic soft landing consensus is really taking hold. And that is, we're seeing inflation. It's been sticky, but it is cooling. We've had some positive indications just in this past month that played a big role. We are seeing the job market is resilient, but we are seeing some slowing there, which is what the Fed wants, frankly. So there's a lot of confidence, at least in the bond market, that rates have peaked, okay, and that the next move is a cut. Couldn't have said that 2 months ago. We had a little bit of a scare with some higher inflation readings early in the year, and some were saying, well, is a hike back on the table? And that is not where we are today. It is no doubt a cut. It's just when and how many is that going to be? So we have strong capital flows across asset classes. We have declining treasury rates. The 10-year treasury rate is about 4.25. That's close to the low of the year. So we are in a great spot in the capital markets, and it's time to be confident overall at bringing deals. The muni yield market, I'll say, is in high demand. We'll talk about that here in a moment. So when rates are moving around in the treasury market, they've been doing less so in the tax-exempt bond market because demand is so high for tax-exempt bonds. If those treasury rates are running up, if we have a bad auction or something that's been happening because of that supply. The muni yield market's been checked, and those credit spreads, that spread to the MMD index that so many of you know, your pricing deal is very tight because that demand is so high. And that leads into the next slide. So the fundamentals are strong. The technicals are also very strong in our market. And so that is, here we're talking about the capital markets view. So this is some indications directly from our underwriting desk in terms of their view. What are they seeing, the big eye in the sky? Institutional demand, very high. So we measure that through bond flows, money flowing into those funds. We've had consistently strong flows, money going into tax-exempt fixed income funds throughout the year, far outstripping current supply. So we want to do something about that. I'm happy to say that at Ziegler, our forward pipeline through the end of the year is almost $2 billion in fixed rate deals. So we're trying to feed the beast, so to speak. So John Spooner yesterday was talking about residents, kept saying that there were future residents, seniors. I'm not quite ready yet. Well, our investors are saying we're tired of hearing providers not being ready yet because they're ready to put some money to work. So we're really looking to put money to work. They're really looking for established providers and looking to lean into scale. So I always say this to our clients or prospects, that your track record matters, right? What you've done before matters, your current operations matter. So you can't just say, okay, we're doing really bad now, but this new project's gonna be really great. And so really, your track record is extremely important. What have you done in the past? It's gonna, they're gonna lean into that for a future project. So your market position, your overall track record, and your team are all gonna be scrutinized when you bring a transaction. Those qualitative factors beyond the numbers. And so in that market position, Dan Herman always says, try to be top 2 in your market. Couldn't agree more. So that is something to really, your market position, we have barriers to entry, it will play a big role. There is some bias to expansions overall and system deals because those have been the highest performers. That's not to say that new campuses, there's not money there for that, it's just more limited. We have a very active investor base for new campuses and new locations, but it's a higher bar there overall for market access. But there's no doubt as an industry, it's well known. We have a lot of units to build, we're gonna need more new locations. So that money's out there for that, it's just a higher bar. And again, your track record, your expertise, your team will be scrutinized heavily for that. Pre-sales is a big deal, not just the level, we always put at 70% for a new campus, but how long did it take to get you there? Did you get there in a year? It take 10 years, right? That velocity is very important as a measure of demand. And of course, we all know I mentioned election year, the presidential elections looming. I feel funny talking about how that impacts our market and society at large, but it could have some big impacts on the tax code, right? And so that we issue tax-exempt bonds, that could shift things a lot. The 2016 election, they tried to end private activity bonds, the Republican Congress. So that would have ended tax. I had to look up what a private activity bond was, I'm not gonna lie. It turns out that's all not-for-profit senior living would have been not able to issue tax-exempt debt. If that were to pass, that would be a big deal, so we're always on the lookout for that. The clock's running here.
Keep going.
Okay, so large-scale projects, 200+ million, we know construction costs are a lot higher. So straight from our desk, there is capacity out there for 500 million, right? But it has to be for the right project. We brought the largest transaction in senior living history back in December 2023, over 400 million for Westminster and Canterbury in Virginia Beach. That project went extremely well. It was the right project. It was well constructed, well designed, it had a great track record. And that was brought in a much more difficult market than today. That was in December 2023. We still had, we had a lot of funds who wanted to participate in that transaction and simply didn't have the money to do so. Much different spot that we're in today. And so for that 400 million, we had over $2 billion in orders for that deal. Probably only about $1 billion of true orders because there was that pile on once investors hear, oh yeah, let's jump into this to know that the project's going to be a success. So overall, funds like bigger deals because bigger deals equals more liquidity. And you're used to seeing that in the corporate bond market where you have to have 250 to 500 million to be index eligible. And so those bigger deals mean more investors, mean more liquidity for them in the secondary market. So on balance, I like bigger deals overall. And so you have to know, do they have the capital? They have the capital out there to be able to put the work in it, and today we absolutely do. See some lists there of headaches and risk factors. We know that as construction costs have gone up, it's really, have your revenues and housing values gone up in relation to that? In many places they have, but in many places they haven't, because construction costs are high everywhere, whereas that revenue side is a little bit uneven in terms of how you're able to help balance that out in the economic model. So we know that certain places, those higher construction costs can be a problem. So waiting too long, I'd say, is the biggest risk. So now if your project has gotten bigger and you don't have much cushion and you've waited a really long time, it's a dramatic turnaround and it's a $200 to $300 million project, well, yeah, that could be a problem. So certainly you want to be proactive. You don't want to wait too long for a decline, especially as construction costs are escalating. And while they may cool, folks are not going to go down, right? Skilled nursing in terms of headaches, I think I could stop it in there in terms of overall headaches there. But also one other interesting thing, I don't need to read all these bullets to you, we had a lot of discussion, the last 2 to 3 years, but all about labor. What's the labor market look like? A lot of talk lately about insurance. Are you going to be able to get insurance? Do you have replacement costs? What's that going to cost? How do you budget for that? We've seen a lot of issues there. So, a lot of discussion out there, hey, I could do a project, but the capital's not there for that. Nonsense. Capital's there for it. You just need to have a plan that works, and then the money will flow and follow there. Bond anticipation notes for new campuses. We have a lot of units to build as an industry just to keep up with demographics. And bands are a great vehicle for that. We just mentioned Bell Springs, which helps fund all pre-construction costs needed. So all of that to acquire the land, marketing, design, and to get to that GMP and pre-sales. This is a great way to leverage that using investor money to firewall the risk against your obligated group. Yeah, the cost is higher because it's the riskiest venture capital type money that's out there, right? The earliest money is the most risky. But this is a great vehicle for that to help you fund everything you need to get a shovel in the ground while also protecting your existing core credit overall. The interest simply accretes through that period, so you're not making current payments. And all of this is taken out through the fixed rate bond issue. Those bonds are what take out these notes. And by the way, who buys these notes? Those same investors who are going to buy the bonds. So they're aligned with you through that process, which is great. So you really prime the pump for that future financing.
That's excellent. So last question, and we'll be quick because we're running a little behind, but pitfalls that impede growth. And Sarkis, I'm going to come right back to you and have you hit this, but Diane and Doug, I would love your thoughts on that same question if you've got some.
Yeah, the first thing you're talking about a lot, that misalignment between the board and management. I don't think we'll talk much about that, but if you aren't aligned, investors are going to sniff that out. And so that's why when we have a webinar, we have site visits, we want to have a board member present to show they're behind this with management. Generally, the board's a little more conservative, the management's a little more bullish. They want to make sure that if things get a little squirrely or challenging, the board's not going to bail on the project. They're going to be aligned. They're going to find a solution, right? So in terms of other things that, and once you're moving ahead, impediments, I'd say just not having a good partner to make sure your project stays in phase, right? It's easy to get out of alignment there. So through, development is hard. And so you want to have a good partner who makes sure, we often talk about the three legs of the stool, the construction and development, the marketing and sales side, and the financial planning really all stay in the right schedule. Because if you get out of balance on one of those three legs, well, you're gonna have a fall. And you want to catch that. You always want to try to catch that early. So we always want to say that try to lose the ego. Certainly always look at what are your core competencies, what do you do well, and how do you need to build the team overall to really fill those gaps. So really hire your consultants early. One of the differences I like though when it came to Ziegler is that we try to provide a lot more value than just, hey, let us know when you need money. That was my prior employer, by the way. So really rolling your sleeves up to be part of the solution and really making sure you're having all those legs in the stool weighing in on you. I would say another one is distractions. It's easy to focus on the project, right? That new shiny thing. But you gotta keep on top of your current operations too. And we've seen that slide way too often. And that gets to, again, your track record. It's hard to really do that new project if your current operations are really slipping to a large.
And that's where having a partner can help.
Absolutely.
Because the management team's got day jobs, and if that current operation is the first thing that the investor base is going to look at, it needs to be in tip-top shape. And then having more arms and legs to handle that project, which is more complex than it has ever been, can help mitigate those risks. Diane or Doug, just any maybe comments on that, and any pitfalls that you've seen or in the process, words of wisdom?
I do think that you have to have the ability to be willing to take a risk, to jump off that cliff when you've looked at it and the water's deep enough and you don't see any big rocks, or perhaps you've actually had someone swim down there and verify there aren't any rocks, and then you jump, which probably for me is tricky. My board is pretty risk adverse, although they do see and have alignment with the vision that sort of together we've created. So for me, it's just checking in with them. Because I can tend to already be across the country, and they've just sat there. So I want to be sure it isn't just me driving this, and it isn't just my vision and my way and my this. It's got to be ours as an organization, which means for me, the board is in alignment, and then going along with that, the staff, my team, the residents, and I heavily lean on, and shameless plug, but I really lean on the Greystone group. I learned with the first project I did that just because I could do something didn't mean that that was the best use of my time. So it's also setting your ego aside. Yeah, just because you could put together the construction pay app doesn't mean you should.
What's that?
Leave it at that.
Yeah, I think quickly for us, just to sort of reiterate what Sarkis said is don't get distracted. We've got this, as you saw, this shiny new penny that we've got that we're focused on, but yet, you saw all the other communities. We have a lot of stuff in healthcare, affordable housing, and we can't keep our eye off of that, because a lot of that is what built the capital and financial infrastructure that we have to be able to do this project. So, yeah, got to make sure our team is keeping the focus.
That's great. Well, I would just say keep the foot on the gas is the big thing. There are going to be things that are going to come up, adjustments, tweaks, things that you got to pivot towards when you take on a big initiative like this. And we'd say just keep the foot on the gas. The opportunity is great. The opportunity to be on this stage with these three wonderful human beings has been great. They're rock stars. Give them a hand.